You and I have been walking through xTool Studio for a while now. You have seen what is new, what has changed, and what actually makes this upgrade worth learning. This is the last video in the series, and I saved this one for you because it might be the most useful feature for someone who enjoys building things and maybe even wants to turn that hobby into something more. You know how it goes. You get an idea for a project, you pull up your software, you start adjusting things. 20 minutes later, you're still fixing a corner or lining up a joint. The product generators inside the studio turn all that into a 5-minute process. Real products, ready to cut, ready to sell, ready to give as a gift. Today we're focusing on the box, the earrings, the keychain, the puzzle, and the ornaments. The puzzle and the ornaments actually showed up while I was working on the previous video. One moment I saw 3 generators, the next moment there were 5. Perfect timing for the holidays though. I already gave you a quick overview of the box, the earrings, and the keychain in the earlier video. This time we're going deeper. I want to see how much time this can save you and how clean the results can be. So we started a new project, but we go to the applications menu and we got all these generators here. So on the earrings, a lot of the stuff is new this week. Some of these designs were not there last week when I was making the earrings. Some of these designs, they're pretty straightforward. The majority of them don't have a lot of options when it comes to customizing them within the template. You can change the styles, you can change the charm count in this case, right? How many pieces this thing will have. You can change the size of the holes, right? But that's about it. Some of them will allow you to do a little more, right? So you got the designs. Some of them will allow you to say whether you want the holes or not, right? You have that kind of freedom. But the vast majority are pretty simple when it comes to what you can do. Just the hole, the size of the hole, whether you want it or not, and some of these new designs. Again, great for the holidays. So it's an ever-changing software, and these templates keep getting loaded. And what is great, from here, you can import it into your canvas and start working on it, right? Or you can save it as an SVG straight from here. And you can save it to your computer and import it into another software or save it for later, for your own library when you're done modifying the template. Maybe we'll do this one. So let's import this one to the canvas. Right on the canvas, you still can modify the template. Let's say if you so happen to close that menu, you can still double click on it and the template designer will open again. And you can still choose a different design. From here, you can also select the material that you want to use, right? If you have something in your library, like I do, if you don't know much about the material libraries and how you can save your own settings, I have done a few videos before that explains that. I'll drop the links in the description, or you see the card here in the top somewhere on this side. So the preview has gotten much better with this revision. The preview before was not very workable. So it gives you an idea what it will look like. So that is the preview, looking good. With this particular earrings, all we can do is basically cut. But if you wanted to engrave, you can always add and customize this further. You can customize it right on top of it if you want to. Or if you want to get a little fancier, you can always go back to the template by double clicking and you can explode that template. This will be true for all the templates you use, keychains, boxes, puzzles. If you explode this design, now you're able to right-click, you release the compound vector, and you can basically do whatever you want. If you want this area to be a little bigger, you can change it to be a little bigger if you want to. Or if you want to add your own text and you want to weld that text within this and want to get fancier, you can do that. If you wanted to just do some engraving inside, I don't know why you would go this route, but let's just say you wanted to go this route. You can always add a start from here, make it a little smaller so it fits your start. This is just an example, a bad example, but it's just an example. And you can, just customize it here to engrave if you want to. Let's see in the preview if my bad example looks any better, right? So there's that. I thought that it would allow you to see how it would look cut. So no. So like I said, many of these templates will function in the same way. You will have different options that you can pick from. You will have more or less depending on the design. As I said, within the keychains, within the earrings, some of them are very limited when it comes to customizing, while others give you a little more. Let's see the next generator, which is the keychain generator. I worked on this one. The great thing about it is that they keep adding things, right? At the bottom here, you got a couple more animals that you can add to your design, right? Customize it to whatever you want, right? Little penguin, whatever. You got your text area, right? Type whatever you want to customize it as. You got another section here. Visit and visit often, right? Whether you want the hanging hole or not. The size of this hole, whatever you want to work on. And of course, you got the font. A lot more flexibility here when you want to get creative. You import it to the canvas. Same thing here. You can still modify it to your liking. If there's something that you rather have, use another design, change your mind about the text. And let's take a look at the preview. If it shows a little better. You see this one shows you the actually cutout. Can I double click on it? No. I'm using the left button there in the mouse to rotate it, and the middle button to bring this thing back. Click it again to bring it back in. Pretty cool. Gives you a good understanding what it would look like, okay? There are many keychains available in this generator and this template. I just show you the one that I did last week. So if you have a machine that can do acrylic, you can get a little fancier here. You can do in layers. So you have 2 layers, one glues on top of the other one, right? This is the base, and these are the pieces that you would glue on top of that. And of course, you have your selections, the hanging hole, the font that you want to select, and of course, whatever you want to write in there. And the offset, right? How far or how close it is from the edge of your material. And again, if you want to go back into the template to make further changes, you double click on it, and now you can go back and edit it again. Once you explode it, and again, you don't have to explode it. You do that only if you want to edit it to your liking. If you want to do more modifications to it, you explode it. But for the most part, I believe if you want something quick in 5 minutes, you just kind of leave it all within the template, and you can go ahead and start cutting and engraving from here very quickly. So let's just get rid of this ones. So you got all this stuff. This one I did last week. The position of the text, you can't change it here, but I'm assuming if we import it into the canvas, so this is a good example for the explode. You click on explode. Now you got access to the name, and you can put it here just smaller if that's what you like, right? If you want the hole in a different area. All right, we're done with that. Let's take a look at the box generator. This guy received a few more boxes. Last week, we had just this few, I think up to here. I made, which one was it? I think I made this one last week. You got, in some of them, a little more space there to customize things. For the most part, you provide the width, the depth, the height. Your material thickness is very important here. And I left pretty much everything else alone. And then, your design, the one that will go on top, is right here. So here you can customize the text, right? The text that will show up on the lid. And you got another line there. And of course, the font. And you can import it to the canvas. But some of the newer ones look pretty interesting. I know the missus will like this box. This is a tissue box, right? So it shows you the preview there, but also you got the actual view that it will look like on the canvas. Again, you got some options there that you can modify. Pretty basics for me, because often I take the defaults. Of course, I'm gonna have to measure my Kleenex box, because in this parts of the world, the tissue boxes are a bit of a different dimension, but you can go here and do that. The main thing here is the material thickness. And you can change the design, right? With this one, I think you can change the width of the hole, right? To make it a little bit bigger. The height of the hole. Then you import it into your canvas. Again, this is one of those cases where you can engrave something on your own. You just type whatever you want, and then, you just keep it in the unit, and you can engrave it to whatever you want. And again, if you want to get a little fancier, you can always explode it and add whatever you want to make whatever changes you want. This is one of those great things. Again, you saw that it doesn't take very long. The only thing would be, of course, to measure your box, the Kleenex box that you want to use to make sure that it fits just nice. But once you do that, you select all this stuff, you plug them in the settings, and that's it. You can literally have this done in a few minutes. Let's take a look and see what other boxes they have. So yeah, so they got the tissue box. This guy here is the regular polygon box. And I don't know if you noticed, but as I go through the different boxes, it's doing like a quick update. I'm telling you, if you're doing this in the garage and you don't have a Wi-Fi, a proper Wi-Fi connection, yeah, it's going to sit there and it's not going to load, and eventually it's just going to stop. So it is what it is, but you need to keep that in mind. You need to have a good connection to the internet. Not a great connection, but a good enough connection so you don't run into issues like I did. Now, some of you guys might say, hey, listen, this is all nice and dandy, but more advanced than this. I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this for a while too, and I can tell you, I really appreciate the fact that I can just do a couple of clicks here and there. Not only it helps the new folks coming up, just getting into the laser world, it's good for us too, because you can always set up the template here. And if you want to edit it, to make it more complex, you can take this base template, exploit it in the canvas, and edit it to whatever you like. So I think it's a great tool. I have used the tools online, and I struggle a lot with the math. And, as fancy as I try to get, sometimes you just need a quick product for a gift. You want to show off for the wife. So this works out very nicely. Now, when it comes to this one, what I'm interested in is how will it work with the kerf bending, right? Does it account for the kerf, for the material thickness, and then it will be smart enough to be able to bend it? Kerf bending is a number of cuts like you have on the screen here that would allow you to have in my case, the plywood bend to my liking, right? But there is a method to this that often requires you to know the spot size of your laser, right? How wide it is. I'll link some of those videos that I found very helpful in the description for you guys to check out. The other one that uses the kerf bending is this design, the one for the wine. You see those lines there on the top. So this is a lot of material to use for testing. I think I will probably want to test it out on a smaller design. So maybe we'll throw this design on the canvas and see how it will work for me. So if you import into the canvas, you basically change the designs to whatever you want, right? Just like we've done with the other ones. You got some text here to modify. And of course, you got to come in and change your settings for cutting and engraving. Now, don't forget to do your material testing. That's important. You got to test pretty much everything new that you're working on, whether it is on engraving or cutting. From my own experience, I can tell you, you're going to save a lot of time. And also, if your machine hasn't been cleaned for a while, it will cut and it will engrave differently. I have a video on how I do material testing, and I updated it to show you how it's done within Studio. So if you haven't checked that out, I will link it in the description, or the card will be here somewhere, I hope. So let's go back and see what other boxes are there, if there's anything else interesting. So some of these boxes are pretty cool, pretty straightforward, right? Some of them are pretty basic, like I said, and I tell you, back in the day, it would have taken me forever to make one of these boxes. And of course, you got some of the more simple ones. I guess this is a half box, it's called. Alrighty, that's it for the box generator. Let's see what else we have. Let's take a look at the puzzle generators. So with this guy, you can upload an image so that it serves as a picture for your puzzle. Let me see if I can find an image. Some of you guys might recognize this image from my first canvas engraving project. So I made this one using ChatGPT, and then I used it to make my first canvas engraving. And this is the one that actually started it all. You can zoom in the picture so it fits better for your setup, for your design. Maybe I'll just zoom it in a little more. I want to see if I could have that guy in the middle, right? In the middle of the puzzle. For that, I can use the vertical one. Right, so the vertical will move it up and down. This guy, the other way. There you go. So now you got that guy in the middle. You can select the number of columns, or, let's go back to 5, just testing here, or the rows, right? So you do have some control on that. The piece size, which in the end will make your piece bigger or smaller, and the size of the tab. So you do have a lot of control over your puzzle here, just to make it easier for me with the numbers. And the piece orientation, up and down, left or right. So it basically rotates. So, and again, if I want this guy a little bit higher, I just go with the vertical. If I import it into the canvas, can zoom in. So like any other template, I double click on it. I got, I can still change things here, explode it if I want to do more modifications to it. This is the preview. So this is the way it's going to look. I'm curious about the KERF, how this will fit. But we're just taking the defaults and we're going to save. Now, what's neat about this puzzle generator is that it gives you a total of 3 different puzzles that you can do. So we got the one that we just did. Then we got the round puzzle. Same thing, you can upload an image. Let's see how another classic would look like in this puzzle. All right, so that's bringing it closer and closer. That's the smallest it will get. It might be a very heavy picture to start with. You have certain number of rings that you can select. So I think minimum is 2. I think we'll do 5. And the size of the tabs of these little guys here, you can control that here. Within the rectangle, you can also make a round puzzle. You have similar options as the round one itself. And then you can also do a heart, yes, if you feel romantic. So I think this one is different from this one because in the heart template, you can't upload a picture, but you can have text that you can engrave. You can change the columns and rows and pieces and all that good stuff, but I'm curious what it will look like. Okay, so it's 2 of them. And this is mainly cutting, right? What's the preview look like? Okay, let me bring it inside. So this one works also differently. Okay, so it's many layers. If you're into this, this is perfect right here. Alrighty, and let's see the ornaments. So you got many different options when it comes to the design. Again, just like with the earrings, you have a pretty basic amount of things that you can change. The thickness, the hole size, and all that good stuff is all here. I bought a few Christmas ornaments when I first started doing the laser work that I've been doing. And I paid some good money for some of this stuff. You can find all sorts of people making them, but it's all here now in studio, so there's no need to go anywhere else. So you got the Christmas ornaments. Some of these ones are 2 layers, right? So you cut the front, you engrave the front, and then you glue it to the back. Let's just import this one, the canvas, just to take a look at it, the preview. So you cut this guy, and you basically place it on top of this other guy. Cool. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff here. Yeah, so basically this one is a lot of engraving and just cutting the shape. And that's it. Same with this guy. No, you have many, many different designs to choose from. I think it was this one, the one that I was looking at for my dog. Yeah, this guy looks a little more like my dog. I know this guy is the one that looks more like my dog. Exactly. And you can select what you want to have there as icon number 2. Right, probably do that one, the paw. And the number of holes to hang from. And if you want to engrave, you can always bring it into the canvas. If you want to add something to it, you can always bring it here and type. Gotta learn how to type first. Engrave it, make it a little smaller so it fits there, right? Let's see how the preview shows it. Nice. Love it. The ornaments, I think they're pretty good looking templates. I mean, perfect for the holidays. You can make them for the family, for your friends. And again, you can go with the defaults, and I don't think you can go wrong with it. You just pick the dimensions that you like, bring it into the canvas, change the settings to the ones that work for your machine and the materials that you're using. And in about 5 minutes, you can have an ornament ready to go. So that's everything I wanted to show you inside xTool Studio for this part of the project. You saw how fast these generators can turn an idea into a ready-to-cut design and how much time you can save once you get comfortable with the workflow. This video was already getting a bit long, and I did not want to drag you through a full shop session on top of everything else we cover here today. So I decided to split it. It keeps things cleaner for you, and it lets me walk you through each part without rushing anything. In the next video, we're heading out to the garage and we're going to cut a few of these designs for real. I will show you the exact setup, how fast you can go from idea to material, and I will walk you through the same boxes we saw here today. I also ran into some connection problems out there with Studio and the Wi-Fi. Pretty much stopped me in my tracks the first couple of times. So we're gonna talk about that too, because if you ever try to run Studio away from your router, you might hit the same things and you'll be going nowhere fast. So watch for that one. It takes everything we covered today and puts it under the laser for the real world test. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me. If you have not subscribed yet, consider clicking that button. If you visited before, subscribing really helps the channel grow. You will also find links in the description for xTool units, accessories, and the materials I use. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but a small commission keeps this channel going. To my patrons, many thanks from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being there for me. I will see you in the next one where we take these designs and we make them for real. Salerna Builds, out!